Hi, this is Georgette from I Rise by Jet, and today we have a very special guest, Destiny Dilworth, and she happens to be
Everyone.
my daughter. Um, our discussion today is going to be on uh, mental health and dealing with sports and college. So I want to take it from the beginning. Um, and I'll say, there's some questions I'm going to ask Destiny. I hope that she's prepared. It's going to be raw and uncut. So first, I want to talk about Destiny when you actually found out that you were going to be, I guess, going to college. You actually received a scholarship, correct?
Yes, I received a track and field scholarship to New Mexico Highlands University, where I became a multi-athlete. So I did the pentathlon indoors, and then I participated in the heptathlon outdoors. And I also participated in some relays. Most of them were like the 4x400 meters. I also did some individual events like the triple jump, long jump, high jump, and hurdles.
Okay. So I want to even go back further from the very beginning. So you find out you're going to college,
Yeah.
and you're anticipating the first day you go down there. What does it feel like? What are you feeling like? How does that feel overall as far as like now you're leaving the nest, you're going off on your own? What was it like the first day of being dropped off at college? What was the feeling?
Oh, well, in the beginning, it felt like the greatest achievement that I've ever accomplished. Really,
Hmm.
starting in my freshman year in high school, I joined a class called AVID, Advancement via Individual Determination, and they prepare kids that really don't um, have the help and prepare them to go to college. So I was preparing
Hmm.
myself for 4 years to get to where I arrived in college. So it felt like the greatest achievement, and I worked really hard to get there. But once I got there and I was being dropped off, it felt like a very scary feeling as well because it felt like I was just left in the unknown. I had to figure everything out on my own. I knew that now I had to be challenged as an individual, make my own choices, and I was given all these resources, devices, and I had to come to my own. So it was
Hmm.
mixed feeling. I was very excited. I was very nervous, but everything worked out in the beginning. I made a couple friends. We hung out a lot. I also made friends on my track and field team, so that was very helpful. Being
Hmm.
included in a sports organization, it helps me very much to become social in a whole
Hmm.
different state, whole different city.
Okay. Okay. So now you are starting your classes. And so how long before you start your, I guess, your track season? So let's say you went down there, what was it? And what month did you go down there?
In August.
Okay, so you went down in August. And when did you actually start your first track practice?
Well, we started 2 weeks, well, right when I got there, I believe a couple days later is when I started my first track practice. And if you know, from Arizona, it's very low elevation. And in New Mexico, I was in a city called Las Vegas, New Mexico, and they have like
Hmm.
thousands of elevation. So it took a bit of time for me to get used to that elevation. And for me, having asthma, it was kind of difficult in the beginning, but I'm very hardworking, so I got through that obstacle. It took a little while, but I was able to overcome it. Um, so yeah, at the beginning it was challenging. We had very rigorous exercises, and um, yeah, it was fun, challenging but fun.
Okay. So, okay, so I want to go to you. Now you're running track, you're dealing with so many different young ladies from all over. Um, Now you have maybe some girls that uh, maybe are challenging for you because I know from experience you was always winning everything, and so now you have other young ladies who are now, you know, putting you to the test of now you got to bring it. So how did that feel?
I felt very appreciative to be on a team with all these high level student athletes, girls that were like either on my same level or even better. Because I started as a freshman, there were girls that had already been training for years to come. So it was very helpful. They really welcomed me in, and they groomed me, they helped me, encouraged me, and they pushed me at practice. They always constantly pushed me. Um, One of the girls my first year, she was a heptathlete. A couple weeks in, they finally told me that they wanted me to join as a heptathlete, and I didn't have experience at all in high school. I only did 3 or 4 events in high school. I did the long jump, I did the high jump, sometimes the 100, the 200, or even the 4x4, 4x100. But I never did anything like 5 or 7 events in one event. So she helped me overcome the obstacle and all that hard practices that we had to endure. She pushed me a lot, so um, that helped a lot. And a lot of them, they are athletic. They're very athletic, and they are hardworking. They are they are no one to be reckoned with. So they really pushed me.
So now I understand, you went off to college and you also had your high school sweetheart attend college with you. How did that all come about?
Well, the first year, freshman year, I was at New Mexico Highland University, and he was doing football at a school called Western New Mexico University, which was more southern New Mexico, and I was more northern New Mexico. And our second semester, we reunited, and um, actually, I forgot how it happened, but I started talking to the wrestling coach at my school, and I was telling him about my boyfriend, telling him that to wrestle in college, or sorry, in high school, and he asked me what weight class. I told him he was heavyweight. He said, "Oh, I need a heavyweight. You should tell him if he's interested to give me a call." So that's what I told Eddie, and then they began to get communication, and right away he was interested in giving him the opportunity to wrestle at our school. So that next year, our sophomore year, he moved to the Mexico Highlands and he became a wrestler. So we both
All
became
right,
like
now.
in the same school.
No, that's awesome. So I want to go back to when you said that I guess your coach approached you and said, he wanted you to try out to be, I guess, a heptathlete, pentathlete. What was it about you that made him come to you and even ask you? Was it your training? What was it?
Well, I think not only because of my like my physical appearance, like I am tall, I'm kind of like stocky, very strong, and I was
Mm-hmm.
also well rounded in those different events. So in high school, I did my jumping, I did my running, my mid distance, my short distance, and I also did the 400, which would be considered mid distance. But they felt like I had the background to be good at it,
Okay.
so they thought that'd be a good chance to take. So they asked me at first if I wanted to do it, and I said, you know what, I'll do it. I'll try it out. So I participated in the practices. They were very hard, but at the same time very fun. Always wanted to be a thrower, so I got a chance to try out shot put and javelin. Javelin became one of my favorite events, and it also has my other favorite events, the high jump and the long jump. And I also never tried the hurdles. I got a chance to try the hurdles, which is one of the most technical events in track and field, and that was
Mm-hmm.
a great challenge for me. But the hardest event that I had to move past was the 800 meters. The 800 meters is very tough for me. I struggled with that during my practices and during competition days. But overall, I would never change it for the world. I would do it again. It was the hardest training I could imagine, but it was definitely worth it for sure.
Okay. So you're working hard, Destiny. You're going to these track meets. I know you were going, what, I don't know if it was every weekend. I believe it was. And now you're juggling schoolwork and you graduated honors. How did you balance the two?
At first, it wasn't too hard. Seeing that I was in high school, I juggled being a student and an athlete, but obviously being in college is to another extreme, as you
Mhm.
mentioned. I was traveling almost every weekend. We didn't really have a good track and field or track, so it was always told that they would be giving us a new track, but never did. So we never had any home track meets. All of our track meets were away. So we were always traveling for every meet that we participated in. It was very hard at first. Um, well, not at first. It was fun at first, really. My freshman year was very fun being able to travel, go to different states like Colorado and different cities like Albuquerque. So it was pretty fun for me. And I was always like a very good student. So I would always do my work right away. And there were times where I kind of did slack a little bit, but then I got right back
Mhm.
into it. Because there's balancing not only being a student and being an athlete, but also, the social aspect as well, hang out with your friends and just being part of that social life in college. Um, so it was okay at first, but I would say my junior to senior year is when it started getting more difficult for me because that's when I started my student teaching, which was very difficult
Mm.
for me because if you don't know, in student teaching for your senior year, it's pretty much kind of like an internship, and they require you to be
Okay.
there the whole school day. So I had about three classes. So I would have three classes, student teaching, and about 3 a day practices. So I would start my day with practice in the morning from like 6 to 7, and then I would have to go straight to my school, the high school that I was student teaching at, from about 7 to like 3:30. And by the time that ended, they already started practice. So I would go to practice right after that, and then I would have weight room some days, and then I would have a night class after that, and then try to sneak in some homework time and maybe like get some dinner and hang out with my boyfriend, and then do it all over again every day, Monday through Friday, and then Fridays we would travel. So I would travel on Fridays or Saturdays, and then come back on Sundays, and then do it again and again. So that really, you know, it really not hurt me, but it really took a toll on me after a while. It was very
Right.
draining and very difficult for me, but I stuck in there. I knew I worked for 3 years. That was my senior year. I knew I had to finish strong, so I just kept at it. I kept at it. And of course, there was those times where it took a very, very hard toll on me, and that's when I
So
reached out to you.
and I'm gonna give you that word, that mama word.
Yeah,
So Destiny, so I mean, I know that you endured a lot. There are stresses, and of course, maybe even some anxiety because you're trying to do so much and get it all done. What was the best thing that you did that really allowed you to come back to a state of peace, a state of serenity, and even self-care? What did you do?
question. I would say Well, my senior year, the second semester, like I said, is when it started getting very difficult for me. Um, really up until graduation day. Yeah, it was hard
Mhm.
for me all up until graduation day. When I finally did it, it was finally, it was finally over. Um, and it was a relief, but also like I was
Mhm.
just drained. So I didn't really get to heal from it until right after when I moved back home. I got to go back to Yuma. I spent some time with my sister and my family too, and I started to develop different practices like meditation and yoga, prayer. Of
Mhm.
course, prayer was, definitely a vital force for me, and just communicating with family because usually when you go
Mhm.
through the depression or anxiety, you instantly want to withdraw from people.
Right.
You want to be
Right.
alone. You feel like you just don't want to be with around people that you love. You just feel kind of,
Mhm.
like I said, withdrawn. So
Mhm.
I had to push past that and try to remain in communication with family and friends.
Mhm.
And yeah, just you gotta just pick yourself up sometimes. And for me, I developed different practices like I said, meditation, yoga, prayer, journaling. For me, journaling is a very
Mhm.
therapeutic thing for me. I like to write things down. Sometimes letting things bottle in can really harm you. So just letting it flow on the pages and letting it just release itself is very
Mhm.
helpful and healing for me and maybe for other people as well.
Okay. So, what advice would you give to, I guess you said, someone who's just starting off with college and they're an athlete? What advice would you give them?
The most the best advice I could say is having balance. You have to maintain balance and you have to know your limits. Sometimes you push your limits and your boundaries, and that's what life's about. Sometimes, it's gonna push you, and but you have to know your limit and always communicating with your loved ones, your family, and your friends constantly so they know what you're going through. I think that's very important too. And
Mhm.
organization, time management. Make sure you're managing your time efficiently
Exactly.
because if you don't, it becomes a huge mess and it's hard to pick up the pieces again and put it back together in alignment.
Mhm.
You know, making sure you have very good time management because if you don't have that, it'll become very, very, very difficult for you. So I would say time management, organization, um, communicating with family and friends, and balance. You gotta have that balance, that physical, spiritual, emotional balance overall. Like that's that I say.
Okay. Well, let's see here. I don't want to give you too many hard stuff questions. So I think really awesome that Destiny, you was the first person in the family to go off to college. You made us all proud. And then, I mean, you also was able to maintain your grades. You graduated honors student. And then you also was the bomb in track. And you maintain a relationship, So think through it all. It's like you're able to be able to reach out to others and help them in their journey. So of course the family is so proud of you. And of course proud that you and Eddie have done this together. Of course now you guys are teaching, but just the whole thing of you going from a little town, Yuma, Arizona, you worked hard in sports, and it's like that door finally opened for you in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Somebody looked at you, your talent, and said, you know what, that lady is bad. She can do the heptathlon. And then not only that, you actually did it and did it well. So, I think that maybe on the horizon, do you see a book coming from you, Destiny?
What was that? The last part?
Oh, I said. Oh, on the horizon, with all that you've accomplished and all that you've done, do we see maybe a book coming from you?
Ooh, a book. Um, Not anytime soon, but maybe in the future. I've always been interested in writing and poetry, so maybe one day when I'm able to put everything together in a collected work, I will let everyone know what happens.
Okay.
But
I've been waiting for
you know,
years to write a book, and I just even wanted to. So, in closing, what would you like to say to the young people, your family, just your support system? I mean, how would you like to really end this in a in an impactful manner? Because it sounds like you're being impactful. You were impactful. You're still impactful. So, what do you say to your siblings? What do you say to parents? What do you say just to anybody who's going to be going through what you've been through?
I would say, more than anything, be honest and be true to yourself and what you want in this life. Because as you know, there's a lot of external forces going on, and all these different people that are influencing you. So it's very important to spend time alone and know what you want. Also, to not be a pacifist is something I've learned, especially in college, to not be a pacifist, to be an activist for others and most like more than anything for yourself. When you see issues occur, it's always easy to kind of overlook it or to repress it or push it aside. But I think it's very important to be an activist and do something about it, make some changes, and let those changes come into fruition. It just transform you into what you're truly set out to be.
Okay, now I like that. So thank you, Destiny, for awesome interview. We love you
Thank you.
dearly,
Thank you for
and
having
you're
me.
continuing to grow. And it's like, you're destined for greatness. That's why your name is Destiny. But you just continue on that path. Sometimes you keep stumbling blocks, and it's all part of the learning process. We all go through the seasons of life, and it's to get us ready for the next level and the next level. So you got to continue to stay in the climb, even when it gets tough. You got to just continue to climb. So with that being said, I appreciate you, love you. And this is I Rise by Jet, and this is all about balancing college, sports, and your mental health. Thank you.
Thank you.